You are making the world a better place by listening to the Joy of Living podcast. This is your guide to achieving a more purposeful, powerful, and positive life. Join Barry Shore in unlocking the best version of you and becoming happier, healthier, and wealthier. And now, here's your ambassador of joy, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good, and you found good in abundance because you consciously and conscientiously tuned into the joy of living with your humble host, Barry Shore, and you tuned in for one reason and one reason only. It's the best reason in the whole world, by the way, because you care the most in the entire world about you. Y-O-U. And that's great, by the way, because when you become the best you make the world a better place. Build more bridges of harmony, create more joy, happiness, peace, and love. And the result of listening to the joy of living, where we talk about the three fundamentals of life, is that you will be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? Everybody, right? And now you joined at this very moment around the world by approximately 348,613 people, all who tuned in to listen to the joy of living because it's going to bring you benefit, especially with our amazing guest, wonderful Jared. We'll be with him just a few minutes. Let's talk about the three fundamentals of life because they're your benefit. The first fundamental, of course, is that your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, number two happens. Now, in this case, the good number two, you go MAD. Now, MAD is a wonderful acronym that stands for make a difference. You lead a purpose-driven life, you make a difference in the world. And the third fundamental is to unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. Simple example. Smile. One of the greatest words in the whole world, right? The best word to internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life. And when I speak to people now, and thank God, no mask and a lot of hugging, and a lot of great energy, just gave a talk where we have 1,176 people. And I told the story about Barry Shore. And I told about the word smile. Smile stands for seeing miracles in life every day. Seeing miracles in life every day. And invariably, people raise their hand and say, hey, Barry Shore, I've been up for hours, I haven't seen any miracles. And I asked them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you stand still? I can't do that. Can you walk? I can barely do that. Do you have water to drink? Do you have food to eat? Do you have a place to sleep? Do you have family or friends? Every single one of those is a miracle. And what's the proof? Simplest proof. 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you're watching or listening, you didn't. If we have an obligation to live life to the full, to live exuberantly. Let me tell you a quick story about me. Imagine, if you can, standing up in the morning, hale and hearty, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, and that evening be in the hospital totally, completely paralyzed from the neck down. I was a quadriplegic. Overnight. And it was not from an automobile accident, not a spinal injury. A rare disease took over my body, which I never heard of the day before, and rendered me completely, totally paralyzed. I could only communicate by blinking my eyes. I was 144 days in the hospital. I was in a hospital bed in my old home for 2 years, completely paralyzed. 4 years in a wheelchair. I had braces on both my legs, from my hips to my ankles, and that was progress. Thank God today I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand. So I'm a triped, not a biped, but I still can't walk up a stair by myself. I can't walk up a curb by myself. And I have help 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. All because of one word. Smile. I can tell you a quick story. My 8-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago and she says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile S-M-I-E-L? I thought about it. Smile sounds the same. Why not? I asked her, how come? She says, because then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. I like that. Out of the mouth of an 8-year-old. But what was she doing? She was creating the kind of world she wants to live in. Now, CREATE is a remarkably powerful, wonderful acronym that stands for causing rethinking, enabling all to excel, because it's about what we call shift in perspective. Now, I've been working with people for more than 7 decades, and I can tell you that 97.2% of all people that I've ever worked with somehow drop the F in shift and the other stuff happens. You're going to be effing careful with your F's. You want to shift your perspective. Now, how do you do that? Well, one of the ways to internalize, utilize, and leverage the 6 most important words you'll ever learn. And they are choice, not chance, determines your destiny. It determines where you're going and the trajectory of where you're going. But you're going to learn about that with our amazing guest, Jared, in just a couple of minutes. But I got to mention to you right now that I do use a lot of 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU word, and I do it for the shock value, and it's fun. Now, of course, the 4-letter words that we use, because we live in the world of positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, are love, life, hope, grow, free, gift, pray, play, swim. And the 4-letter FU word is fun. Fun, yes. F-U, capital N, capital N. Now, I know some people are raising their hands and saying, hey, Barry Shore. Fun's only spelled with 3 letters. Not in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. Fun is spelled F-U, capital N, capital N. So after the show, when you see your family and friends, you have a twinkle in your eye and a smile on your face. You point your finger and say, F-U, everybody. But you got to remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. Say, where'd you get that? So I listen to Barry Shore, The Joy of Living, and he wants to teach the world to F-U. Got to add capital N, capital N. So just before we bring on Jared, I'm going to urge everybody to do this, which will enable you. Remember, the show is all about you to be happier and healthier and wealthier. How do you do that? Use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day, consciously and conscientiously from now and the rest of your life. And these 2 words are thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank stands for to harmonize and nurture kindness. To harmonize and nurture kindness. The Dalai Lama is quoted saying, I read in his writings, be kind whenever possible. And he said, it's always possible. So imagine you go into your coffee shop and you order your fancy latte, you sit down, somebody brings it to you. You say, thank you. You go to the coffee shop, you sit down, you order your fancy latte, and a couple of minutes go, I know what it brings you. You go to the counter and say, oh, I'm sorry, we're busy, forgot, we'll bring it to you. Sit down, another minute goes by, somebody brings you, still say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop, it's raining out. Somebody holds the door open for you. You say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop, it's raining out. Somebody slams the door on you. You say, thank you. You're in traffic, you're late for an appointment. Somebody cut you off and you say, thank you. And you get up in the middle of the night, you stub your toe and it hurts. You say, thank you. To harmonize and nurture kindness. I can't think of anybody that's more kind and can share that with everybody out here than our amazing guest, wonderful Jared Levenson.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
wonderful
you.
Jared. Please say hello to
Thank you.
362,819 people around the world.
Hello. Thank you.
By
Thank
the
you,
way,
Barry.
when was the last time somebody said F you to you and you laughed?
I was cracking up at that. It's been a while.
Well, I'm so glad that Jared is with us because Jared is a man who has been through situations that will touch everybody that's listening. And he's doing it now in such a way that he's bringing out the stories so that it will be of benefit to you. Remember, the show is not about Barry Shore. It's not even about Jared Levenson. By the way, everything you want to know about Jared, don't write down notes right now. Just later, you're going to go to the website, www.whatawonderfulworld.barryshore.com, BARRYSHORE, barryshore.com. Everything you want to know about Jared will be there. So just listen, let it flow around you, through you, and really have fun. Then you can listen again. I urge everybody, share this with 5 people. That's it, just 5 people. And then we'll touch over 1.5 million people with these insights that will really make a difference for you. He's a madman. Remember, make a difference. So let's just jump right in. Jared, if I start telling people about your biography and all that sort of stuff, we'll take too much of the show. But I
got an image for you. Which summarizes it, which beautifully relates too, because I went to Tassajara in California, and this is the Buddhist Zen name they gave me when I became a Zen Buddhist monk. That was 10 years ago. I had to look up the name because I forgot it. But it was interesting because this first one, Shigaku, The second one was Kaido. So this is what like they gave me to really represent the meaning of my essence, my dharma. And the first one meant Lion Mountain, which I liked. But
By the way,
more
that's
specifically for
lion.
this one, the second
One
one,
second.
Kaido,
One second, Jared.
was joyous way, joyous way, joyous way. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, which one did
So,
I?
no, I
Which
want to
one?
make
You
sure
can read it.
everybody, if you're not watching this and you're missing something, it's a piece of paper with Japanese characters on it. And the beauty of it is that when he says Lion Mountain, he doesn't mean lying in the words. He means lion, Lion. It's the Lion Mountain, right? That power, that good power. And the second is joyous way. So we are in sync, as they say. We're flowing. So thank you, Jared. So he mentioned, I'm going to say three things about Jared.
This was joyous way too. Oh man, it's perfect.
It's fun.
Great.
And we're not going to talk about it right now because it'll take too much of the show. But I was at Tassajara before you were born.
No way.
Way.
Oh my gosh.
Way.
I spent a year of my life up there right after
okay,
college.
we have much to talk about, but let's just jump
in.
because
okay.
Why did I invite Jared and why did he accept? I invited him because Jared is like a lot of people. He's a former binge eater, wrestler, and a Zen Buddhist monk. Okay, so not everybody's Zen Buddhist monk, but a lot of people are wrestlers. Actually, everybody's a wrestler, whether you're wrestling someone else or yourself. Remember, that's the essence of life, wrestling with oneself and being successful. But the binge eating does affect many people around the world. I'd say actually most everybody, because you're either eating poorly or you're eating well. And it's really a conscious decision. Let's just jump right in and talk about what you call UNP, Universal Nutrition Principles. Let's just jump right in and give us not a whole bunch, but one or two, maximum three, that we can hang our hat on for the beginning. Universal Nutrition Principles, please.
Eat regular, eat mindful, eat protein. Seems to me that every single dietary approach, except for a few, follow those three principles. They are in my opinion, sort of the commonalities that all these diets share, because I work with people who are so confused about food, very anxious about food, thinking a lot about food and all these different things, how they should eat. And this is sort of my way of condensing everything into like, hey, like this is the common ground that all these diets share.
So let's go back and articulate them clearly and slowly. The first one is eat
regularly.
Eat regularly. Now, when you mean regularly, we'll talk about it in depth. What's the second one?
Eat mindfully.
Eat mindfully. Wow, isn't that wonderful? And the third one?
Eat protein.
Eat protein. So eat is the common word for all of them. It's very interesting because he was a binge eater, which means he would put anything in his mouth that he could put his hands on. And it was not done mindfully. And he didn't do it regularly. Actually, it was regular, but
you don't eat regular during the day. You binge and then, yeah.
Right. And then it affects everything in your life. And most importantly, your sleep, because sleep is what we call the miracle cure. It's that which enables you not just to put the body down, but have the body do all its functions. And if it was stuffed with incorrect things, then it has to work so hard that you cannot get the kind of sleep that will enable you to live in joy daily. Now, let me just mention, everybody, that joy is an amazing acronym, 3 letters that when you internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life, it will make a difference, because joy stands for, you ready for this, Jared?
I'm ready.
Journey of you. Is that not wondrous? Journey of you. That's what joy really is. So let's go back and unpack these 3 principles that are, as he says, universal. Now, when we say universal, remember, we have people listening and watching that are in China, that are in Pakistan, India, Europe, South America, Central America, United States, Canada, all over the world. These are universal nutrition principles. Let's begin and go deeper into eat regularly. Remember, it begins with eating, but eat regularly. What does regularly mean, Jared?
It means if you don't eat your blood sugar levels get really low. So if you go 5, 6, 7 hours without eating, your blood sugars, you're starting to get hungry, your energy is going to be starting to go down, and you're going to put yourself at a much, much higher risk, higher likelihood of reaching for that candy bar, of those cravings, being like, you know what? Oh, why not have that extra piece of cake? Like, who cares? Whatever. If you're low blood sugar, your brain just starts turning off. It's called survival mode. When you're starving, right? I mean, me and you are both wearing our yarmulkes, and there's horrible stories of people after the Holocaust. Jews were starving and they were given bread, but they were so starved they ate so much bread they actually died. They needed to hold them. The soldiers needed to actually hold back the Jews from eating the bread because they were so hungry they'd overeat. So if you get super hungry, it ain't gonna be good. You got to eat regularly. You got to keep your gas tank full, right? At least you keep your gas tank not empty. If your gas tank, your fuel, right? If it goes empty, you're gonna crash.
So let's take a look at you and use you as an example. When you were a wrestler, are we talking about wrestling in high school, college, and after that as well?
Mainly in high school. High school, 4 years, 3 years varsity, none in college. And so that what it looked like was you're constantly year round, you're trying to lose weight for the tournament because you step on the scale and they're always pushing you to lose weight. It's the whole culture, and and so they're like, oh, you got 10 pounds to lose. They don't even need to tell you because you kind of know. And so all day long you're thinking like, oh, I got to lose 10 pounds by the weekend, right? And so with that kind of thought process in the background of your mind, like if I don't do it, I'm not gonna be able to go. Like I'm not gonna be able to fit in. I gotta be my best. There's a lot of pressure, and so you don't eat. You don't eat enough. You might have a little bit, but not enough. There's all sorts of stories about chewing grapes to feel full. Weight loss tricks where you're spitting out saliva on the
Wait,
there. It is bad stuff. Bad stuff. Yeah.
Okay. By the way, were you a successful wrestler? Did you?
Not really. I didn't really do much with it. Yeah.
Okay, but you were in that zone and in that mode of competition.
Yes.
And stress and pressure and incorrectly eating.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
So
It's a big problem. I see gymnastics, ice skaters, all these different athletic sports where people are developing really weird relationships with food because it's the norm to try to control your body size. And it's so complicated, but it's not good to have this restrictive type of thinking and everything like that.
So let's use that as our segue to the next, because you went from restrictive type of thinking. And by the way, even if you're not in sports, everything we're talking about applies to every single human being. The simplest example is, what do you eat for breakfast? There are too many people in the world, by the billions, who even have access to food, who use a cup of coffee and a donut as breakfast. And that already puts you at risk. You hear this? At risk, because you think you're doing something for your body, which is giving it some nourishment, but you're not. You're putting in life-destroying pieces. So let's talk about moving from eating regularly to eating mindfully. What does it mean to eat mindfully?
I mean, this was one of the lessons I learned at Tassajara. I wasn't eating mindfully till then, but I had to eat in this public setting at tables with other people. They'd all eat very slow and mindfully. And I think that's the key, is slowing down a little bit. I always say you don't need to go super slow, but just the intention and the act of, slowing down 1%. If you slow down 1%, that's a little bit of consciousness in there. You don't need to turn off the phone. I think that's too high of a bar for most people. But just slowing down a little bit. There's other things too, like savoring your food and noticing the flavor and noticing your hunger levels and things like this. These topics are deep, right? But I think the initial way I present these principles try to make it, easy to digest, if you will.
Oh, that was good. Yeah, very nice. Again, what you're hearing, and I urge everybody, you don't have to write all this down. what I want you to do is just listen, because when you go back and listen again to the podcast and then again share it with 5 people, these are principles that are going to make a difference in your life. And we're talking about making a difference, talking about being happier, healthier, and wealthier. It affects every aspect of your life. I want to talk, we're going to go a little deep here because you touched a wonderful nerve for me that if I had the time right now, I'd get up from my chair and I'd go to my bookcase and I'd bring out my Tassajara cookbook, which is, I'm telling you, is older than Jared. Jared, what is your chronological age?
I'm 32, and are you talking about the bread book? That's so.
Yes, he's 32.
They have a famous bread book. I bet. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
So Tassajara, I'm gonna say just a few words. Tassajara,
Oh,
you
I'm
can
so
look it
happy.
up. It's Tassajara. Tassajara is a Zen community that I believe began in the 60s, and I was involved in the 60s. And not only did they have a center, a meditation center in San Francisco during the time when San Francisco actually was a magnificent, wonderful city that had a vibration of joy, happiness, peace, and love. And I'm happy to tell everybody I was there. If you're watching this, you know me. And if you're not, you're listening and say, okay, Barishaw was there because he's of age. But it also had, still has, a meditation center in the mountains. And I presume you've been there, Jared. And I've been to the Tassajara Meditation Center and to the wonderful rejuvenating hot baths, the natural hot bath. It is so remarkably amazing that I can tell you stories that go back. Let me see. Let's say this is 1980 as the last time I was involved. So that's over 43 years ago. Well, the reason I'm mentioning is because Tassajara was what I call the point of the spear for people who wanted to understand that the relationship between the physical, the mental, and the spiritual really does exist. And that alignment, what I call, Jared, becoming your own spiritual chiropractor, because we all know what a chiropractor is, right? If you're feeling out of sorts physically, you go to a chiropractor and that person, he or she does bing, bing, bing on your neck and goes, and then supposedly you feel better, you walk out, you're in alignment. And what we're talking about now, and again, I'm using Tassajara as the example, is to create alignment between the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And that's up to you. That happens. That's possible. And that's part and parcel of what Jared is bringing to us when he says, eat regularly, eat mindfully. I'm going to tell you a quick story about my father and talk about, and I was not able to do this when I was growing up, but I will tell you anyway. The two essential elements that Jared mentioned are to eat slowly or slower than you do. That's all. And the most important 4-letter word in eating is chew. Chew. Learn to chew. Most people don't. A bite, 2 bites, swallow. Learn to chew. So my father had a great line when we used to eat. We had sometimes, most of the time, you have a fork. You put a piece of food on your fork. You put it in your mouth. And then he taught us to put the fork down. And he used a great line, which I didn't understand until I was 10, 11, 12, 13. He said, fork you. It's a 4-letter word with an F at the beginning and a K at the end. And I didn't understand it until I was much, the later. Fork you. But it helped me to understand to put the fork down and out of your hands between bites. Because what most people do is to take a fork, put a piece of food on, put it in your mouth, chew a little bit, keep the fork in your hand, get ready for the next bite. But if you can actually put the fork down or the spoon and just think of those words, fork you, you now go into a slower mode. And that was, again, part of Tassajara. I was deeply involved in making bread and in the meditation center and such. And I was not a Zen monk like you. However, I was, you're bringing back a flood of good memories, a flood of good memories, Jared. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you. Let's go to the third one. So eat regularly, eat mindfully. And now comes interesting. It doesn't say eat sugar. It doesn't say eat candy bars. He's not saying eat stuff that's not going to eat protein. Speak to us about protein. Well, Jared?
Protein, I think we all know it.
Well, actually, assume
Yes,
people
we're here.
don't. Assume people do not know protein. What is protein?
Okay, great. Yeah, protein is a type of nutrition, a type of food, a type of thing. Chicken has it, nuts, yogurt. It is not sugar. It stays in your body longer. It keeps you more full. If you think about eating a piece of chicken versus eating a little bit of rice, the chicken is going to last a little bit longer in your body.
So give us, in your opinion, 3 proteins that people should really be aware of and focusing on. You mentioned chicken. Great.
Chicken, let's go nuts, and let's go beans.
Wow. Okay.
Keep it there. There we go. Right. Eat those every day, and
good.
Yeah.
Because, and again, we have a universal, a worldwide audience, and most people. Now, by the way, we do have to be cognizant. Food in America or
Yeah.
the West,
Yeah.
so America, Canada, and most of Western Europe, food is readily available and in bounty, and that is beyond understanding in the human history. Most places are not like that. There are many, but not all. Those people who are not fully have access to great food. Now we're talking about things that are mostly available. Chicken, nuts of almost all kinds, and beans. If you can mindfully choose, remember the 6 words that we learned that the most important for you to internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Is that correct, Jared?
Oh,
Choice.
love it.
So when you can choose chicken, choose nuts, choose beans over what? Over anything that is sugar based. Now that means putting sugar in your coffee. Okay, a tiny bit maybe to sweeten it, but that's it. Not to make it sugar and a little bit of coffee. Not to reach for candy bars. And when I say candy bars, by the way, I do not mean true candy bars. I mean things called, you ready for this, Jared? I'm going to make people a little upset.
Okay.
Protein bars. Protein bars are phony.
I see.
Protein bars, if you look at ingredients, and thank God there are ingredients on every label, you look at the first 2 or 3 ingredients, it is not protein. It's not nuts. It's not to your advantage. It's corn syrup and things like that. Corn syrup is the equivalent of refined sugar. It is not to your benefit. I mean, I know we're upsetting a lot of people around the world. Protein bars, of course, they're good for me. Well, yes, they're good because they give you a quick high. What Jared is talking about, he talks about protein, is that it stays in your body longer, which means it takes more time to digest, which means it is more mindful of you than you are. So when you can use choice to make sure that you eat regularly, eat mindfully, again, just use these words, fork you, or use the word slow or the word chew. So I'll tell everybody we only have a moment. I know I'm monopolizing the conversation, but you're bringing back a flood of memories.
I'm enjoying the vibes.
At Tasahara, and there was also a macrobiotic essence to everything that was done. Chewing was supposed to be 40 times.
Yeah, and the most difficult part for me in the beginning was it was 10 minutes of silence, and like people would eat slow, and you don't want to eat fast if everyone else is eating slow. So it made me feel like all this anxiety that was coming up, like all these emotions that I normally would try to escape through food. If I eat real quick, it kind of distracts, and when I had to sit with it, it was like, oh, this is what's underneath. This is the stuff that
this is real.
This is what Robert Frost you got to go through it, right? This is what I'm trying not to go through, what I'm trying not to feel, what I'm trying to avoid. Yeah.
So we are fortunate that there are people that love this show so much that they invest their time and effort to sponsor us. And therefore, we urge you, patronize these sponsors because they're great. We don't do anything that is not a wonderful, fabulous, beneficial product for you. So patronize. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back right after that with more Jared. And we're going to dive deeper into other things like his story and finding the internal family systems that are going to bring benefit to everybody. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Don't go away. There's more Jared on the other side. Opportunity. What an opportunity. I'm going to use 2 4-letter words right now. Free gift. Free gift. Yes, you can have a copy of my best-selling book, The Joy of Living, How to Slay Stress and Be Happy, the ebook version for absolutely free. All you have to do is send an email to me, Barry, Barry, at barryshore.com, and in the heading, the subject line, just write free gift. It's as easy as that. This is a life-changing, life-enhancing opportunity. Barry at barryshore.com. You'll be glad you did. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Free gift. Do it now. Take the action. Make it happen right now. Best wishes. Bye. Imagine the kind of place you would want to shop for your favorite fur baby pet. HonestPets.co. Well, you found it. HonestPets.co. Not .com, .co. This is your go-to spot for the best, the cleanest pet treats that exist anywhere on the planet. All of the brands go through a rigorous review to make sure they meet the high standards of cleanliness, health benefits, and naturalness. This site was started by a husband and wife team, and it's veteran-owned, and that care about pets, especially dogs and cats, and coming soon, bird treats. These are very nice young people who really care about making a difference because a portion of proceeds go to support veteran organizations with a focus on service dogs. This is the place where you want to go. You want to tell your friends this has the finest, yummiest, freshest, all-natural treats and stuff for your fur baby. So go there, honestpets.co. honestpets.co. Do it now. Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. Our cup runneth over with good. And a 2-legged being, his name is Jared Levenson. He lives in the Pacifica area of the United States on the West Coast, overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And he comes to us thankfully to share with us universal nutrition principles, which we talked about: eat regularly, eat mindfully, remember, fork you, slow and chew, and eat protein. And the 3 proteins I recommend are chicken, nuts, and beans. You do that, okay, your body might do something with the beans for a while, but you'll after that your body will love you for it, and it will produce for you benefits that, again, remember, this show is about you, not Jared, not Barry, you, and you're here to become happier, healthier, and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? And I guarantee it, or your money back, actually double your money back. So let's talk now about, we mentioned your binge eating, and why did you even think about becoming a Zen monk? So Tassajara is a unique place. Let's be blunt. There are 300 plus million people in the United States of America. I don't think 300,000 know about Tassajara. So how did you even come to Tassajara? What brought you there? What kept you there? And what enabled you to utilize these principles to be what you now say is a Zen monk?
Oh man, yeah, right. I was miserable. I was all alone. I was looking for meditation. I found a monk who's a blind monk. His name was Peter. This is in college, freshman year of college, and he had a meditation group.
What college did you go to?
San Luis Obispo in Downland, California.
Okay, by the way, it's very funny because St. Louis Obispo, to those who know, they don't call it St. Louis Obispo, it's called slow,
Slow. Yeah, speaking of which, yeah.
which is
There's
very
always jokes
wonderful
like the
when you
slow police and
right
everything.
when you're
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
eating slowly. So he was in slow.
That's true.
St. Louis Obispo is again physically is one of the most beautiful places in the world.
It
All right, so
is.
you're in this university and you meet a blind monk. Hello.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm tortured, man. I'm a shell too. I'm just there's pictures of me where I'm like, I'm just frail. I'm so skinny, weak. I'm underfed. I'm binging, but I'm not eating. It's I do this because I think this is like my only thing. Actually, in hindsight, I had this thing called spiritual bypass where you go so hard into spirituality. It's like I'm so effing miserable. Like let me get enlightened so you know,
Remember, with this, my latest book, newest book coming out is called "Oh Shift," and again, most people drop the F because that's what happened. That's where you were living. You were living in
yeah,
the O shift without the F,
yeah,
and and
yeah,
not. And I don't even know if you were a
yeah.
seeker at that point, but you knew your
I
whole
was.
being.
I think I
You,
was. Yeah,
okay,
but yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
you needed some light, and here is a blind monk
Yeah.
who sees the light, and you meet him, and what happens now?
I start meditating. I remember the first question I ask him is about enlightenment. I'm trying to figure this stuff out. How do I become normal? I don't know, how do I get out of pain? And he gave me some great advice like, hey, stick in college. And then he said, be a monk for 2 years and then quit, which I followed his advice. I didn't make it 2 years, I made it 13 months. But I think that was very good advice. Finish college, get the degree, and then do it for a year. Like don't because he got caught up in the bureaucracy of it all. I hate to say it, but like,
Anyway,
yeah,
no, this is very important.
it's organized. It's
Right.
organized. Like it could
I
be,
want to. I need
so
to
he said do it
interject
for a
here.
year and then yeah,
I need to interject
sure.
because you're right. Even in a spiritual environment, there is bureaucracy.
Yeah.
I know because
Yeah.
I actually reached out to Tasahara just about 3 years ago, and I saw that there was a completely different vibration than when I was involved. But that's hey, look, that's the nature of life in 40 plus years. But so you finished your university. What degree do you have?
I got my economics. I went back to school after Tassajara to get my degree in counseling, undergrad in economics and then counseling masters. But yeah, Tassajara was that pivot point where I was freaking miserable doing economics, and I connect with all these counselors, yoga people, therapists,
By the way, if anybody's
massage
watching,
people.
if you're watching right now, you just if you only listen, I'll tell you what just happened. If you're watching, you saw Jared's face beaming when he said, "I got involved," and he started listing out the people. He
connection,
smiled. He got
connection, right?
beaming. Right before he was
Connection.
drinking, and now he's beaming just even thinking about the people he was involved with, because all the people were deeply involved in giving and sharing and being and growing.
And self-reflecting too. I think that's my thing. My thing is like self-reflection, looking inward, and we find all these people who are. What'd you say? Something about truth earlier that you said. I forget what you said, but something about looking inward, and you find
Right.
all these people that are bringing language and connecting over the inward journey, which is just to this day. It's like if I could connect someone over about psychology and mindfulness, I'm like, all right, we got something that's like core that I can just talk on and on and on and on about. And I finally found these people up at Tassajara. I was so alone, and I think just um, you know, finding people that
So
connect with.
you became part of the Tasahara community.
Yeah.
I want to share with you, Jared, something. Your eyes are going to bug out and have a big smile. The word community is very interesting. You know why?
Mm.
Because the you comes before the I.
I like it.
So when
I
you
like it.
joined, when you came involved and attached to the community, you recognize that the lower self needs to be put aside for the higher self, and that it was the you before the I. You were wanting to give. When you became a giver, that's when you became involved and be able to become a monk. You can't be a monk unless you're a giver.
That's true. And I think back then too, a lot of it was like, hey, how do I not look like a fool? How do I fit in? So I wish I was coming from a more generous point, but I think back then I was just so trapped in survival mode and things like this. I probably was more, but I hear what you're saying as well. But I did care about the group. I got to fit into this group. I got to be part of this group. Um, and I think we all need that connection, which is just so important. I know the self-help industry is huge and rightfully so. It's great, but we all need that person-to-person connection as well.
So let me share with you something again in my newest book called Oh Shift. And we used the Scrabble tiles on the front of the book, and the F is below the line. You got to learn how to be careful with your Fs. You don't want the other stuff to happen. In the book, we talk about something called SOS. Now, SOS is usually a signal for help, right? Which is the mode you were in, as you just said.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
SOS on the low level stands for shiny object syndrome. What's next? What's the next thing? What do you want to do? Okay, let's go here. Let's go there. Let's go there. It's all about the next thing. You can't be where you are at the moment. Be Here Now is one of the most important books that helped
Yeah.
me and many tens of thousands of people like myself years ago by Baba Ramdas. And
Yes,
the
yes.
essence of the book is SOS on the next level, which is service over self.
Mm,
Because when you're in service,
mm,
that's when you actually have the
mm,
opportunity to
mm.
connect deeply with self and recognize that you are the higher level self, which stands for understanding you're a soul experiencing life fully. When you are a soul experiencing life fully, then it's service over self. Isn't that correct? Isn't that correct, Jared?
Yeah, and I just want to share with the readers too. This is something I think it is correct. Yeah, and it's something that I wrestle with too. Like this for me, I'll just share my how I resonate with that. But I think it's hard to put service first, at least for me. Like it's something that I kind of try to wrestle with. It's like I wonder what your advice is, Barry. By the way, like you want to serve others, but you also are kind of fighting with that selfish instinct as well. I think it's okay to wrestle with it. I think it's probably good to wrestle with it. I don't think it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? If people are wrestling with
Oh,
service over selfishness, and of course some selfishness is good too. I mean, I don't know.
so
What are your thoughts?
I want to be very clear on what we said. It was not service over selfishness. It was service over self. So
Ah,
I'll give you an example. The word business has an interesting connotation to everybody around the world. Some people, when they hear business, think, wow, I love business, like I do. I think business is the ultimate expression of service. And some people think business, oh my gosh, business, money, profit, and so much, and they get overwhelmed. But
mm,
again, if you look at the word business, BUSINESS, you cannot have a flourishing, beneficial business unless you understand that in business, the you comes before the I.
ah,
When you are in service and you give to other people what it is, in your case, counseling, you're counseling what you call eating enlightenment. I mean, think about that. That is your business. But if it was done, oh, I hit a button and something happened. Hold on, my screen just did something. When you're in business and you recognize that the other is there for you to serve, then you become connected to your higher self.
mm,
And there's no such thing as selfishness. Your
mm,
higher self resonates because you are now in sync with the other person. We call it flow. Give you a fun example. I think you're going to smile from ear to ear, people that listen every week. We have over 300 30,000 people that come every week, and now we're over 360,000 because people like this. So if you were to walk outside and you see a garden, wonderful Jared, and you see those things growing in the garden, what do you call those things growing in a garden?
Plants. I don't know.
Plants?
Flowers. Something like
Flowers,
that.
right? Flowers. Let's have a lot of fun. You ready?
I'm down.
Take the letter O and put an L in front of it. How do you pronounce that?
Let's see, the letter O and put it in front of the L.
Put the
Followers.
no. Put the L in front of the O. L for L-O. How do you pronounce L-O?
Low.
Okay. Put a W after the O. How do you pronounce that?
Low.
Thank you. Put an F in front of the L. How do you pronounce that?
Flow.
So those things that you're looking in that garden, they're called flowers, not in the world of Barry Shore and what we do. They're flowers, because you know why?
Oh, I see.
Because they're not detached. They are completely attached to the soil. They have sunshine, they have rain, they have elements. And inside, if you look inside that flower, what would you see? You'd see elements flowing, juices there. They're not static. Look at the human being. Look at you, Jared. Look at every single human being that's listening right now. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people listening. Every single one is flowing inside, right? If you were to listen to your blood, it would be going, shh, 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 shh. You're flowing all the time. What Jared is sharing with us is he wants you to flow by eating regularly, by eating slowly. Remember, fork you. And by eating, that was mindfully, by eating protein, you are doing everything for you as the plants and the flowers are. When you recognize that the only difference between you and the flower is that you can move. That's the genius of the human being. You can get up from your chair, you can move around, you can shake hands, you can embrace, you can do things that cause flow in the world. So when the you becomes before the I and you flow, then you're in sync and everything works.
Amen. And it's such I love it. And it segues too beautifully into internal family systems and trauma and everything like that. Because as we think about eating enlightenment.
Yes. So let's discuss internal family systems, which is the program that you offer to human beings. What does it mean, internal family systems therapy?
When we look at the struggles with eating, it's like an iceberg. The Titanic, they saw this little tip of the iceberg. They thought they went through that, but there's this big iceberg underneath the surface of the water that was invisible. That's what sank the Titanic. And so when we look at eating, these three principles are just for the tip of the iceberg, the easy behaviors. But if the enlightenment is sort of realizing, like, and this is hard, and I'm just going to lay it on for people. Just, I know I would be upset too when I first heard that I had trauma. I denied it. It took me a professor in college to force me to go to therapy and start working on my trauma and my issues. The enlightenment, if you have this compulsive, addictive, horrible, a relationship with food where it dominates your life, the enlightenment and the truth that is hard to face, there's some trauma underneath that. There's some attachment injury, there's some pain, and that's the conversation I like having with people. That's where my real passion is getting to the healing underneath the food struggles. And internal family systems is just one of many different modalities of working with trauma.
Let's go a little deeper. So internal family systems therapy, give us just two main ideas that people, again, around the world, people are listening, two ideas from the internal family therapy systems that people can really begin to utilize, internalize, and leverage in their life. Two, please.
You are made of parts, and you can learn to lead those parts.
Okay, so let's take a look at parts. What does parts mean?
There's a side of me that binges. There's a side of me that hates that I binge. There's a side that tries to stop me from binging. These are all parts of us. There's a lazy side of me. There's a hardworking side of me. There's a different parts of us.
So how does internal family systems get a flow with the parts so that they're not angry at each other and they're loving each other, and therefore they're all working for the benefit of the oneself. Because if they stay as parts, then it will be apart. What you want to do is create harmony. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Like these parts are almost like little children in dark rooms in a house that are in separate rooms that are sort of maybe yelling at each other but not seeing each other. Our job is to sort of shine the backwards light, use mindfulness and these other tools to you go into this room with a dark child and you sort of shine light in the room. You get to know the child, you bring him out, you introduce the child to the other children in the room, the other rooms in the house. You kind of go individually, you build these relationships up with the children, and then they can sort of harmonize more.
And now, so
That sounds absolutely crazy, and I get it. It might sound
no,
absolutely nuts, but that's how you sort of do it. You
well, again,
find
remember,
apart, and yeah, yeah.
it's not just that you did it and you just said it sounds nuts. So let's go back. Nut stands for never underestimate thanking. Never underestimate thanking. Everybody should become a nut.
Yeah.
Never underestimate thanking or never underestimate thinking. So what you're doing is you're, like you said,
so
the
good.
3 things that you want to eat are chicken, nuts, and beans. So you want to become a nut. And the nut is after you understand and realize that there are these parts that are angry at each other and fighting each other, that they really, really want to live together harmoniously in the family.
Yes.
Now, how does
Yes.
one learn how to lead? We only have a couple of minutes. How does one learn how to lead all the parts into harmony?
I think honestly, you just said it like boom, nuts. Never, whatever. Thankful you just said.
Underestimate
Never under.
thanking.
Sorry.
Never underestimate thanking.
In the IFS world, there's this book called No Bad Parts. It's realizing that even the binge side, even the suicide, even the self-harm, any sort of bad part that is any part, I mean any part, they're all trying to protect. They're all trying to do their own thing. You look at a self-harm person who cuts, that part that cuts is trying to remove the person from hopelessness or something like that. So when we come from this perspective of never underestimate thankfulness, sort of no bad parts, these parts aren't bad, there's nothing. When we shift, right? When we see instead of this bad thing, we see it's trying to serve, we can have compassion, we can be curious. And that right there in a nutshell is how we learn to lead them. If we can relate to these parts with curiosity, with compassion, with presence, that's how we lead them. And
This
it all
is
starts by realizing like they're not bad per se. Like, yeah,
this is so wonderful. We only have a couple of minutes, so I have 3 questions for you. You ready?
let's go.
Number 1, will you come back again?
I'm down.
Okay.
This is fun. I'm
Number
inspired by you, man.
fun.
Like you're
Number
do you
F
call
you.
yourself a Jubu? Do you call yourself a Jubu?
F you.
Jewish Buddhist?
Yes. You booze.
Right?
I'm
Yeah.
very close to a
I'm
number.
I'm inspired by you. I mean, cool, man. Yeah, definitely.
This is wonderful. Okay. Number 2, you only have 80 seconds to answer this question, Jared.
Okay.
What is your most fervent desire?
I mean, I think it's been my North Star for quite some time, although the meaning has changed, but it's to be enlightened.
To be enlightened and to help others become enlightened. Good.
Yeah, it's
Good.
the
That's it.
same. It's yeah.
That's great. And number
It's
3,
changed too. It's enlightened to me is more normal now. It's more well functioning. It's not the mountaintop by in the forest. But anyways, my definition of enlightenment has changed, but I think the goal of that interconnection is the same.
thank you. And number 3, are you ready for a hug in front of 368,000 people around the world? Well, let me tell you what HUG stands for. Heartfelt, unlimited giving. Heartfelt, unlimited giving. You ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Remember,
Oh, man.
everybody, it's not about Jared, great guy that he is, about Barry Shore. It's about you, Y-O-U. That's why you tuned in to the Joy of Living. And once you share this with 5 people, joy, remember, stands for
It cracks me up.
Journey of You. That's what it's about, Journey of You. You becoming the best you possible. Therefore, you build more bridges, create more harmony. You bring more joy, happiness, peace, and love into the world. Remember, WWW, what a wonderful world. And the 3 fundamentals of life. Number 1, life has purpose. You lead a purpose-driven life, you go mad. Mad stands for make a difference. And the 3rd is to unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. And the result will be you'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Jared is a proof of that. And I guarantee you your money back, double your money back. And remember that smile, internalize that, utilize, leverage that. SMILE stands for seeing miracles in life every day. Or as my 8-year-old niece says, seeing miracles in everyday life. Create the kind of world you want to live in, causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. Oh, shift. Remember to keep that F in place so the other thing happens. And use the 6 most important words you'll ever internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day, consciously and conscientiously, from now and the rest of your life, for your family, your friends, and all living beings, and most importantly, yourself. And it will make a difference for you. And these 2 words are thank you, thank you, thank you. To harmonize and nurture kindness, to harmonize and nurture kindness. So from Jared and Barry, we are going to, and we gave everybody a big hug, heartfelt, unlimited giving. And now we give you all a blessing, which is go forth, live exuberantly, spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. Jared, don't go away. Where are we?
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Joy of Living podcast. Now that's another step towards your healthier, happier, and wealthier life. Never hesitate to do good in the world, no matter what the situation. Join us for another upbeat discussion next time at barryshore.com. And be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show to get more conversations like this. And remember to share it with your family and friends too. See you on the next episode.